Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. I trusted you. You betrayed me. Now it's my turn. Today on Locked On A's.
You are Locked On A's, your daily podcast on the Athletics, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On A's, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. I am your host, Booney. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen of the day. I'm from the Bay Area, and I've been a diehard A's fan since 1981. I'm here to bring you a real fan's take, covering everything from Oakland to Sacramento, and yes, to Las Vegas. This is the place for A's fans to get the latest game breakdowns, team news, and more. This is where the passion of the fans takes center stage. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. And please hit that subscribe button wherever you are following the show. I trusted the stories. I trusted the narratives and the so-called truths that were sold to us, packaged neatly to prey on our emotions, our loyalty, and our love for the Oakland Athletics. But I was wrong. We were all wrong. You see, I owe you something. I owe you honesty, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's unpopular. If you're giving me 25 or 30 minutes of your precious time, and I don't care how many people are viewing, I owe you my very best. Not a recycled narrative, not a half-baked opinion, but the full, unfiltered story. So I apologize for failing you before, for not doing my due diligence. I took the easy way out, latching on to narratives created by documentaries, podcasters, and Bay Area media outlets that painted a picture of betrayal, but only part of the picture. When the A's first announced that they were going to Sacramento and then leading up to an eventual permanent stay in Las Vegas, I saw this documentary that was titled The Death of Oakland Baseball. It was a 3-hour plus documentary, and I believed it. I thought it was an absolute masterpiece, and the individual that created it did his homework. And like the rest of you, or the many of you that did see a documentary like that, I thought it was gospel. But the more I have dug into the details, the more I realized that that particular documentary and documentaries such like it and media outlets in the Bay Area and podcasters alike, I realized that the narrative they were telling and the story they were telling was a house of cards built on selective truths and glaring omissions. Was there a single lie in that particular documentary, or is there a single lie for the most part as far as what has been reported? No. But that's exactly the problem. This whole narrative we have been led to believe about the A's was designed to manipulate, to omit just enough context to feed a narrative of betrayal without accountability. And for months, I bought into the idea that everything was a conspiracy, that Wolff and Fisher were working hand in hand with MLB to orchestrate the demise of the A's in Oakland. It was easier to believe than to face the complexity of the truth. But now I see it for what it is, a story riddled with half-truths and misdirection. Let's go back to the beginning. Schott and Hoffman buying the A's from Walter Haas. The promise? To keep the A's in Oakland. And the reality was it was lies. They purchased the team for less than market value, so we have been told, and the community trusted them to keep their word. They didn't. That was the first betrayal, we were told. Then came Lou Wolff, the fraternity brother of Commissioner Bud Selig. The narrative? A backdoor deal, collusion. Reggie Jackson and Bill Gates had offers $25 million higher, yet Wolff somehow emerged victorious. Convenient, right? But here's the question we fail to ask. Why? Why did that happen? We have been fed a story of villains without acknowledging the systematic failures that allowed this to happen. We've been spoon-fed anger without context. And I'll admit it, I fell for it. I became a mouthpiece for this narrative, pushing it forward without asking the hard questions. But now, I'm done with the half-truths. I'm done with the narratives designed to divide and distract. To those who have disagreed with me in the past, I have welcomed you. I've offered countless invitations for open discussions, and I'm still waiting because here is the reality. Most of you don't want to have a conversation. You want to throw insults, profanity, and the name John Fisher at me like it's a mic drop. But it's not. It's lazy. And it's because deep down, you know the truth isn't as simple as you have been told. For the next 3 days, I'm tearing it all down. We're going through the history piece by piece, exposing every half-truth, every omission, and every lie by omission. Today, we cover the Schott and Hoffman era, from the Haas purchase to Lou Wolff's ownership. Tomorrow, the John Fisher years, what he did, what he didn't do, and why. Friday, the move to Vegas, how it happened, who caused it, and what it means for the future. By the end of all this, you will have the full story. You will have the facts, not the watered down, emotionally charged propaganda, but the facts. And then you'll be able to form your own educated opinion based on those facts. I know my take won't be popular. It's not meant to be. But if being popular means selling out my integrity, don't want it. If it means regurgitating someone else's narrative without question, I don't want it. I'm angry because I trusted too much, betrayed my own standards, and let you down. But now it's my turn. It's my turn to give you the truth, no matter how uncomfortable, no matter how unpopular it may be. Let's begin. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. New customers can bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. Download the app or head to fanduel.com to get started. In 1995, the Oakland A's stood at a crossroads. Walter Haas Jr., the cherished owner who kept the team rooted in Oakland back in 1980, was stepping away, forced to sell the franchise as he battled prostate cancer. It was an end of an era, but also the beginning of a new one. Enter Steve Schott and Ken Hoffman, two Bay Area real estate moguls with deep local ties and a shared vision. Together, they paid $85 million to purchase the team, splitting the cost right down the middle. But Schott, named the managing partner, would become the face of the A's new ownership. The narrative surrounding Walter Haas's 1995 sale of the Oakland Athletics is often romanticized as a story of loyalty to the city of Oakland. It paints a picture of unselfishness and loyalty to Oakland, which Haas was, beyond unselfish and beyond loyal to the city. But the reality is that there is more to the story. Commonly accepted is the notion that Haas sold the team to Steve Schott and Ken Hoffman at a discounted price of $85 million, far below market value of approximately $101 million at the time, on the condition that the A's remain in Oakland. While this version of events isn't entirely false, it omits critical details that complicate the story. Yes, Haas sold the team for $85 million, which was considered below market at the time. However, this number doesn't reflect the $23 million in deferred player salaries that Schott and Hoffman inherited as part of the deal. Deferred salaries are essentially postponed payments owed to players from previous contracts, and Haas had accrued a substantial amount of them during his ownership. By offloading this financial obligation onto the new owners, the actual cost of the purchase rose significantly. The $85 million sales price wasn't a simple discount for keeping the team in Oakland. Instead, it was an adjusted figure that accounted for the $23 million liability Schott and Hoffman were required to pay. In other words, the perceived discount was not an unselfish gesture tied solely to the team's location. It was tied to the financial baggage Haas left behind. Haas did include a stipulation in the sale. The team must remain in Oakland. However, this condition didn't hold as firmly as it seemed. Shortly after taking ownership, Schott and Hoffman renegotiated their operating agreement with the Oakland Coliseum, introducing terms that allowed them to move the team out of Oakland if they chose to. This move undermined Haas' original intent and opened the door for future relocation discussions. While the sale agreement may have given the illusion of securing the A's future in Oakland, the renegotiated terms showed that keeping the team in the city wasn't necessarily a top priority for the owners. Right off the bat, the new owners were very unpopular with Oakland fans. For years, the story surrounding the Oakland Athletics' supposed demise has revolved around the ownership of Steve Schott and Ken Hoffman. The narrative? Schott and Hoffman gutted the team, alienated fans, wanted out of Oakland, refused to re-sign star players like Jason Giambi, and single-handedly reduced the A's to a laughingstock. But is that the whole story? Let's break it down. First, it's true. Schott and Hoffman wanted out of Oakland. But why? Why did they want out of Oakland? The story often skips over a key point, the broader context of Oakland itself. Economic and crime issues. Oakland in the 1990s and the early 2000s was struggling. It was actually nicknamed the crime capital of the Bay Area and ranked as the third most dangerous city in the whole United States at the time. Whether or not you believe this justifies Schott and Hoffman's desire to relocate the team is up to you. But it's a critical piece of the puzzle that is often ignored. Schott and Hoffman's criticisms of the city of Oakland weren't baseless. It had some meat to it. Schott and Hoffman did gut the roster. When they first arrived, they got rid of all the Oakland legends that were part of the best years in Oakland. As years went on, they didn't re-sign stars like Miguel Tejada. Arguably the most notable player the A's did not re-sign or give an extension to in their franchise history was Jason Giambi. The narrative we have been led to believe is that Giambi had been close to signing an extension with the A's and only a no-trade clause stood between the A's and an agreement with Giambi. Yes, there was a no trade clause, but no trade clause or a trade clause, it didn't matter. Giambi was adamant about being a Yankee. And during the negotiations of an extension, Giambi actually called the Yankees and inquired about Mickey Mantle's number. The A's had zero shot of signing Giambi to an extension, to a free agent deal, however you want to put it. Giambi wanted to be in New York. Giambi ended up wearing number 25 as a Yankee. Now, let me ask you a question. Why 25? Well, what's 2 plus 5? Exactly. Steve Schott was critical of Oakland. He was hard. He was hard on the fans, and at times he was insulting to the players. Schott did not come off well publicly, no question about it. The narrative that the A's attendance significantly dropped from Haas to Schott was because the A's did not spend like Haas, which led to a bad product being put on the field that could not compete. This narrative is pretty close to just a bold-faced lie. The only part of this narrative that is true is that the A's didn't spend under Schott. That is true. Let's dig into the numbers, which has conveniently been left out. Average A's attendance under Haas ownership was 23,826 fans per game. Under Schott, 21,145 fans per game. Now, is an 11% decline considered significant? Does that match up with the narrative that we have been led to believe that attendance plummeted under Schott because he did not spend, put a bad product on the field who could not compete? Speaking of wins and losses, let's get into that. Another misconception is that the A's were uncompetitive under Schott. The facts show otherwise. Winning percentage, Haas era, 51.4%. Schott era, 54%, the best in franchise history. Postseason appearances, Haas, 5 playoff appearances in 15 years. Schott, 4 playoff appearances in 9 years. Of course, Haas does have the 3 World Series appearances and the 1 World Series title, where the A's under Schott were not successful whatsoever in the postseason. While Haas is undeniably the most beloved owner in franchise history, the idea that Schott's teams were uncompetitive is just factually incorrect. If you are curious about attendance numbers through each of the ownership groups, as I was, let me give them to you. I just gave you Haas and Schott's attendance figures under Wolff and Fisher was 21,367 per game. That was through 2016. I'm not even going to give you when Fisher was sole owner, but I guarantee you this, it was better than Charlie Finley's, which I was really surprised at this number. 9,642 fans per game. You guys have conveniently left that out of any narrative you have told, because that number was shocking to me. The idea that the A's supposed downfall began with Schott and Hoffman is oversimplified and misleading. Yes, their ownership had flaws. Schott was outspoken, sometimes to his detriment, and he didn't have close to the same connection with the fans as Walter Haas. That goes without saying. However, the numbers show attendance didn't plummet as claimed. On-field success actually improved under Schott. Economic and safety concerns in Oakland were real factors influencing their attempt to move the team. When we dig into the facts, the narrative of Schott and Hoffman as the villains of the A's franchise history falls apart. The truth is far more nuanced, whether that justifies their actions is up to the interpretation. But ignoring the full story distorts reality. In March of 2005, baseball owners voted to approve the sale of the A's to a group led by Lou Wolff, which included his son Keith and billionaire John Fisher, son of Gap founder Donald Fisher. Schott and Hoffman sold the A's for $180 million, and immediately the narrative we have been led to believe was simply not true. The Lou Wolff years, up next. Today's episode is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, two teams, endless possibilities. And there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action. With live betting all game long, you can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's the icing on the cake. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. The story surrounding the 2005 purchase of the Oakland A's by Lou Wolff and John Fisher often paints a dramatic picture of backroom deals and conspiracies. A popular narrative claims that Major League Baseball Commissioner Bud Selig orchestrated an inside job with an endgame of removing the A's from Oakland and the Bay Area entirely, favoring his college fraternity brother, Lou Wolff, to buy the team who would help him execute his plan, while ignoring other better offers. Now, this version of events is compelling but not grounded in reality. Here's a closer look at the actual facts behind the sale. It's important to go back in time and understand that Lou Wolff's role with the A's began in November of 2003. Ken Hoffman and Steve Schott, then owners of the A's, hired Lou Wolff as the team's executive vice president of venue development. Along with this role, Wolff was granted an option to buy the team in 2005. The option period. By 2005, Wolff had a 90-day window to decide whether to exercise his purchase option. However, there were some complications. Wolff initially wanted to buy out Ken Hoffman's shares while keeping Steve Schott on board. Hoffman was very skeptical of the potential favoritism between Wolff and Schott and refused this arrangement. Instead, Hoffman demanded that both his and Schott's shares be sold entirely. To make the deal viable, he brought in John Fisher, who had to sell his minority share in the San Francisco Giants to participate. Together, Wolff and Fisher agreed to purchase the A's for $180 million. Why $180 million? Wolff approached the valuation like a real estate appraisal, which he was at a younger age. He looked at comparable team values in MLB's lower market tiers, including the Kansas City Royals, Minnesota Twins, and the Tampa Bay Devil Rays. Using this method, he arrived at the purchase price of $180 million, which Schott and Hoffman did agree on, and which MLB later approved. One of the most cited arguments for the alleged conspiracy involves a competing bid. A group led by baseball legend Reggie Jackson and Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates reportedly offered $25 million more than any other bid out there. While the bid was real, it was there. It came too late. According to Steve Schott, the sale to Wolff had already been agreed upon before Jackson's interest was known. Are there other bids to be rumored as well? Sure. We hear a lot with regard to Joe Lacob showing a big interest in buying the A's. The fact of the matter is, Wolff had the option first to buy the team. And in all honesty, I don't know how ironclad that was contractually speaking, but Wolff was definitely first at the table. And I think there's no doubt about it that Selig did want Wolff to own the team. But to look at this as a quote unquote Bud Selig rig deal, while it's true that Selig and Wolff were fraternity brothers, the idea that Selig masterminded a plan to favor Wolff is unsupported by evidence. Wolff was brought into the A's organization in 2003 by Hoffman and Schott long before any sale discussions. The thought of other offers being ignored regarding Jackson Gates, by the words of Schott, his interest was not known until the Wolff and Fisher deal was already in motion. It is widely known that Bud Selig has never wanted the A's in Oakland. He has expressed that on many of occasions publicly. But the narrative that we have grown to know and grown to believe was that Selig favoring Wolff to buy the team in order to accomplish the goal of moving the A's out of the Bay Area assumes that there is malice. But the sale was a business transaction driven by financial feasibility and pre-existing agreements, not a grand scheme to relocate the team. The idea that the A's sale was premeditated or an inside job driven by Bud Selig and Lew Wolff doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Instead, the sale followed a straightforward, if complex, process involving financial negotiations, valuation techniques, and the recruiting of an additional investor in John Fisher. While there were competing offers and suspicions of favoritism, the facts reveal a story far less sinister than some would like to believe. For those looking to understand the truth behind the A's ownership saga, it's a case of separating convenient myths from inconvenient facts. Wolff already had a history of involvement in professional sports. He previously held stakes in the NBA's Golden State Warriors and the NHL's St. Louis Blues. While these ventures gave him a foothold in the sports world, his primary claim to fame lies in the real estate and urban development. He was chairman and CEO of Wolff Urban Development. He has developed luxury hotels such as the Fairmont properties in San Francisco and San Jose. His efforts revitalizing downtown San Jose in the late 60s established him as a pioneer in urban development. He publicly stated his commitment to respecting Major League Baseball's designation of the South Bay as the Giants' territorial rights and reiterated his focus on Oakland as the A's long-term home. But was his commitment genuine or just a temporary stance? The fact of the matter is, Lew Wolff has always been a San Jose guy. Back in 1998, well before his involvement with the A's, he openly advocated for San Jose as a prime location for a baseball stadium. Wolff's connection to San Jose and his relationship with MLB Commissioner Bud Selig sparked speculation that he might eventually push for a move south despite his current public assurances. The idea that he publicly stated that he wanted to keep the team in Oakland was met with skepticism. His past attempts to relocate the Warriors to San Jose and his participation in campaigns to move the Giants to the South Bay in the 1980s suggest he's long been an advocate for the region as a sports hub. But with the Giants holding firm on their territorial rights and no clear path to San Jose, Wolff miscalculated the leverage he had. While his connections and influence gave him a window to challenge the Giants' territorial rights, that window closed real fast. And in the years Wolff was the face of ownership, he did not ever have a clear vision for the A's future in the Bay Area. Wolff's lack of decisive action hurt the team's chances immensely of staying in the Bay Area. Lou Wolff had one vision only, in my opinion, and that was the South Bay. And he felt his relationship with Bud Selig would get him home. He vastly overplayed his hand, and it cost the A's dearly. Tomorrow, we will get into the second half of the Wolff ownership era. Thank you for making Locked On A's your first listen today. For your second listen, find Locked On MLB. Baseball guru Sully brings a daily blend of humor and baseball, keeping you updated on every rumor and story throughout the off season. Find Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. I will see you tomorrow. Part 2.